At first, it was a lot to do with the uniforms of the show. As everyone knows, it's a prison show, but what a lot of people are surprised to find out is that we dress every single inmate and every single CO head to toe, including socks and underwear, every day.
We build the sets, pick the colors, furnish the rooms. We build everything from flashbacks to our main sets.
A prop master has many responsibilities. We do cars, we do food, we do weapons. Anything that an actor holds in their hand, we're responsible for.
We actually work with a real prison supplier, and so all of the uniforms that appear on screen are real inmate uniforms. They offer one shade of orange, so that's the shade of orange we went with. The khaki is the shade of khaki that is offered, and all of those colors are inspired by real facilities that were used in research during season 1 to sort of base our facility and our rules for our prison off of.
I went with our locations manager to a number of different prisons to just, walk through, to go into a real visitation area and see how it works and what the protocols are, and learning all of the vernacular of sally ports and airlocks and how the keys work and how a guard would walk behind the prisoners or to keep themselves in a protected position. It's really complicated. It's not just like laying out a living room and a kitchen that you want to shoot in that, you have layering, but all of the technical issues of how the locks work and how much the hardware costs. It's kind of endless.
Let's take the example of the case of a shiv or a shank. You're in this environment where you have a limited amount of items available to you. So our job when we're approaching any prop in the prison is what do these people have available to them and what would they make it out of? And that's kind of that's our starting point. We need to make them safe for the actors to interact with and to handle, but they still need to look sharp. So there's always this fine line between making it safe and it looking dangerous. And it's something we take into consideration. Is shank a verb or a noun, and is shiv a verb or a noun? So do you shiv with a shank or shank with a shiv? I don't know. We can, research that a little bit.
We spent a lot of time, particularly back in seasons 1 and 2, when a lot of our inmates were new to the show, figuring out how that person approaches their life, and then how we could translate that into their uniform. Because the rules of the facility are that you're not allowed to modify your uniform. You can't cut it up, you can't draw on it, you're not supposed to fold it or tuck it. And what we started using as a guideline is inmates who really flouted the rules and therefore would take some liberties with their uniform, and inmates who didn't. And Piper's an obvious example is that of someone who actually wears the uniform in a very straightforward regulation kind of way. Piper doesn't fold anything. She doesn't roll anything. She wears her boots all the time when she's supposed to, where Nikki is folding and rolling and tucking and putting things in her socks in a way that is an extension of her character.
We have a finite amount of space on stage, and we need to have hallways that seem to stretch on forever because as a prison, you want to feel this maze and the inability to tell where you are at any particular time. How do you set up colors to tell the story that we're in 3 separate cell blocks, but with the physical reality of having to redress a single cell block as 3 different places? We were one of the most theatrical shows on television with the flashback almost every episode to some period piece, whether it's in West Virginia in the 80s or, Washington, D.C. currently. I feel like the social issues that we do tackle are all, they're out there with the actors. We find ourselves with Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter as well in the same room at the same time. And we're here to make a world in which those two things can come to, a boiling head, really.
I'm just incredibly proud of being a part of this show, of being on Genji's team, of being involved in a show that has changed the conversation in the world, but also the way that it's changing the conversation about what a television show should look like. We have an incredibly large cast of insanely talented women. The storylines have touched on. It's really been everything, and it's so relevant to what's happening in the world, and that's what I'm proud of, is just being involved in a cultural conversation in a job I get to go to do every day.